Hey guys, tonight we glide back 4,000 years to the misty, lotus-scented banks of the Nile, just as a painted dawn ripples across the river like molten copper. You are barefoot on cool limestone, palace walls towering behind you, their reliefs promising eternal harvests. The air holds a sugary tang, honey drips from glazed clay jars, and you're about to discover why ancient royal breakfasts could outbrunch the fanciest modern brunch spot. Fair warning. If you tried to match a pharaoh bite for bite, you probably won't survive this carb-heavy extravaganza. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is on your side of the planet. Now, dim the lights, maybe fluff your pillows, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge across a shadowy courtyard, where plastered columns are still cool from the night. Papyrus torches sputter and hiss as sleepy guards exchange nods. Nobody raises an eyebrow at you. Apparently time-traveling tourists are just another quirk of Ra's daily commute. A hush falls when musicians begin plucking small harps called bennets, strings twanging softly like the Nile's own heartbeat. They're here to serenade the sunrise and your breakfast. The first platter materializes in the hands of a linen-robed steward. Honey-soaked figs the color of polished mahogany, glistening like they've bathed in liquid amber. You bite, and syrup floods your tongue. So sweet you almost hear your modern dentist scream across millennia. A second steward spoons yellow dates spread onto dense beer bread. Did you know the Egyptians brewed a low-alcohol liquid bread called henket, then baked loaves from the spent barley mash for zero-waste decadence? The stuff is somewhere between sourdough and malted muffin, and it's rudely delicious. You wash it down with, of course, more beer, served in a tall faience cup, painted turquoise like a shallow tropical sea. The drink is thick, a little gritty, but surprisingly refreshing, especially when the morning breeze carries damp notes of lotus and cow manure in uneven waves. If you were truly royal, a scribe would already be tallying your calorie intake on a shard of limestone, ensuring the afterlife ledger shows you were properly well fed. Eternal accounting, fun. Behind you, a slim priest sprinkles black cumin over hot broad beans sizzling in a bronze pan. Steam coils upward, mingling with frankincense smoke curling from a miniature alabaster brazier shaped like a papyrus bloom. He waves a palm leaf fan, not for your comfort, but to lure the aroma toward the shrine of Hapi, the Nile god. Apparently, even divinities appreciate a good breakfast. The priest mutters a quick blessing, then gives you a conspiratorial wink. Anyone who says Egyptians lacked a sense of humor has never seen a temple cook commit mild sacrilege before the second course. Near the riverbank, royal fisherfolk return with baskets heavy with mullet. Today's catch is destined for the king's later lunch, but several silvery fillets go straight onto salt slab grills, hissing like tiny cymbals. You wander closer, letting flakes of warm marble press into your soles, half expecting Gordon Ramsay to shout, "Where's the seasoning?" through a portal of swirling sand. Instead, a chunky kitchen cat with one torn ear claims the garnished leftovers and purrs as if she owns half the kingdom, which, given the ancient Egyptian cat claws, she basically does. Look east. The sun finally breaches the horizon like a gilded scarab crawling out of cosmic darkness. Trumpets carved from elephant ivory proclaim Ra's grand entrance. Their blaring notes bounce off pylons and cliff faces, setting ibis flocks flapping overhead. The palace baker, sweaty and flour-dusted, rolls a wheeled slate tray piled with pocket-sized loaves stuffed with minced dates and sesame. Ancient energy bars, minus the plastic wrapper. You tear one open, steam fogs your eyelids. The crumb is airy yet chewy, the sweetness mellow, the sesame toasted, almost nutty. This is the carbohydrate cloud nine your gym coach warned you about. A royal child darts past in miniature kilt, clutching a glazed pottery cup of goat milk sweetened with carob syrup. He offers you a sip. The two-handed kindergartner grip is optional. The milk is earthy, creamy, with a faint chocolate echo. You marvel that cacao is continents away and centuries unborn, yet these folks have hacked their own proto-milkshake. Resourceful lifestyle gurus, these pharaohs. Beyond the colonnade, more stewardesses knead dough for future feasts, singing work rhythm chants that bounce in pentatonic strands. Lyrics translate loosely to "turn the wheat, praise the sun, may the bread rise higher than the pyramid." Okay, maybe the translation app exaggerates, but you catch the drift. Good carbs equal cosmic order. Somewhere, a middle manager scribe evaluates labor efficiency with a reed stylus, and you feel the weight of bureaucracy, even in paradise. A sudden flutter. Sacred geese waddle across the scene, necks stretched like living question marks. Their handler sprinkles barley to keep them from nibbling the altar cloths. He brags that goose liver pâté will soon appear on the royal luncheon board. You can't help picturing modern foie gras controversies, but the handler shrugs. It's tradition, traveller. History may not always be gentle, but tonight our goal is comfort. So you mentally wrap the geese in plush blankets and promise them a spa day later. The final breakfast touch arrives with near-religious ceremony. A tall cone of flavoured ice. Yes, ice, in the desert. Royal couriers have jogged pre-dawn caravans from Sinai's high passes, hauling snowy chunks wrapped in reed mats. Kitchen hands shave the ice, drizzle it with sweet sycamore fig syrup, and present a crystalline mound that sparkles like the sunlit river. You spoon airy snow that tastes of chill starlight and dusty melon. The novelty alone justifies an empire's tax system. By now, palace corridors buzz. Officials shuffle papyrus scrolls, artisans hammer gold inlays onto cedar thrones, and gardeners clip date palms into geometric satisfaction. Yet here you sit, dappled in sunrise stripes, belly warm with bread and honey, head lightly buzzing from mildly alcoholic breakfast brew. Somewhere in the back of your mind, a modern nutritionist screams about glucose spikes, but the harpists drown her out with a lullaby-like riff. You close your eyes. The early drums have slowed, trading fanfare for a lazy, rhythmic thump, mimicking the oars of royal barges. You can almost feel a sunbeam sliding across your shoulder like a warm cat. The Nile's waterbirds call in harmonies that blur into white noise. If sleep is your goal, you are well on your way. After all, nothing invites slumber quite like post-feast drowsiness beneath a cloudless Egyptian sky. And yet, you can't leave just yet. Dawn is only the appetizer for today's lavish royal schedule. So, settle your back against a limestone column, savour one last sticky fig, and let the day unfold at a pace as smooth as liquid gold. Soon you'll trek to Babylon, but for now, breathe, taste, drift. The sun has rolled westward, and you, well-fed but restless, slip onto a reed boat that seems to skim the Nile like a dragonfly. One lazy blink later, call it a time travel power nap, and you're coasting up the Euphrates toward Babylon. City of brick red ramparts and storybook ziggurats stacked like layer cake. Dusty heat blooms around you, tinged with saffron, burnt cedar, and the faint metallic snap of hammered bronze. Somewhere overhead, a lone hoopoe flaps across a sky so blue it might shatter if you stare too hard. Your guide, a non-unflappable barge captain chewing tamarind pods, points to palace rooftops sparkling with newly fired glaze. "Royal lunchtime," he grunts. "Don't be late. The omens are hungry." You disembark onto a quay thronging with porters, each balancing trays of date palms, baskets of pistachios, and jugs of almond milk. The palace complex looms beyond a monumental archway, its glazed lions snarling in forever frozen mid-pounce. A cedar smoke breeze nudges you inland, past scribes in cone hats tallying grain taxes on clay tablets. They grunt greetings while styluses clack like rain on stone, proof that bureaucracy sang its lullaby long before spreadsheets. Ahead, the Etamananki ziggurat rises, tier after terraced tier, an architectural stairway for gods and gossip alike. You join a royal procession spiralling upward on a ramp wide enough for 3 oxen abreast. Bare feet brush warm brick, sandals squeak, robes swish. Priestly astronomers track Jupiter from shaded balconies, muttering about conjunctures and kingly fates. You catch a snippet. If the crescent tilts left, we postpone dessert. Who knew pastry scheduling relied on planetary alignment? Mid-ramp, a servant offers chilled pomegranate water laced with mint. You drink greedily, seeds bobbing like jeweled commas. Quick energy, she winks, for our altitude snack. You resume climbing, heartbeats sinking to temple drums echoing somewhere below. Remember the honey-soaked figs of Pharaohland? Babylon, ever competitive, plans to outsweet them. At the summit, afternoon light pools gold across a tiled courtyard. Royal chefs bustle around portable hearths, their copper pans staining the air with nutty aromas. The feast begins modestly, with bread. But this isn't your average half-hearted loaf. It's a crisp, spiraled sesame cake called kushu. Did you know the Mesopotamians catalogued over 50 distinct bread styles on clay tablets, ranging from beer mash patties to delicate fruit pastries? You break a kushu wheel, it crunches like a cracker, releasing toasted sesame perfume that could double as royal cologne. Next comes goat cheese whipped with crushed dates, until it glows peachy beige. You smear a generous dollop onto the warm bread spiral. The cheese is tangy, almost lemon bright, balancing the sesame's deep nuttiness. Each bite snaps, oozes, and melts in rhythm like caramel popcorn engineered to lull you into carbohydrate bliss. Off to the side, omen readers hover over a lamb's liver, lashed in fig syrup, poking it with ivory rods, as though deciphering a caramelized atlas. Historians still argue whether Babylonian orgies genuinely believed divine messages hid in organ contours or simply liked front-row dining perks. You think, realizing that fortune-telling conveniently doubles as pre-meal taste testing. The chief reader squints at a purplish vein, then smiles wide. Apparently the gods approve of seconds. A drummer taps a syncopated cadence. Servers glide forward bearing ceramic plates piled with boiled quail eggs dusted in sumac. You peel one. Steam wobbles upward. Yolk glows like solar eclipse ring. A dab of coriander salt makes the flavor pop, and for a moment you swear you hear Babylonians inventing brunch. Another platter reveals skinned apricots stuffed with minced lamb and pine nuts, bound with date molasses. The contrast, sweet fruit shell, savory spiced core, turns your palate into a hammock, gently swinging between flavor treetops. You sidle closer to a low parapet, where the Euphrates glitters miles below. A palace baker, face freckled with flour, flips flatbreads on a dome-shaped griddle. He slaps each round against hot clay, coaxing pockets of steam that inflate the dough like tiny pillows. He snatches one and hands it over with the pride of an artist unveiling a masterpiece. Inside, he has hidden a smear of rose petal jam. You tear a corner, and sticky petals fleck your fingertips like confetti. Supper fireworks, he jokes. You laugh, lick jam from your knuckles, and wonder if every Babylonian child measured life's milestones by bread fillings. Off in a shady alcove, a wine steward decants apricot mead into cups carved from alabaster thin enough to glow. The liquid is amber, heady with wildflower undertones. You sip, and the warmth unfurls across your chest like a soft desert breeze at midnight. A lute player drifts by, plucking a languid melody that seems timed to each heartbeat. The tension in your shoulders loosens. Eyelids flutter half-mast. If a bed appeared, you might face-plant gladly, but the royal schedule insists on at least 2 more courses. Nothing stands between kings and their carbohydrate quotas. Servants roll in bronze braziers topped with skewers of spiced fish. Cinnamon and cumin sparks crackle off hot coals, swirling into new perfumes. Someone sprinkles crushed pistachio, green as oasis palms, over sizzling meat. When you bite, flesh flakes into buttery shards, juice mingling with citrus zest. In the periphery, astronomers recalculate star charts. Apparently Mercury just blinked, dessert secured. The finale arrives, a mosaic of candied citron peels, fig tartlets and tiny cones of honey-drenched barley sugar sculpted into lions. You choose a lion, naturally. It feels rebellious to nibble on the empire's mascot. The sugar crunches, dissolves, floods your mouth with pure nectar. Somewhere down the ramp, temple bells clang, An omen reader nods contentedly, liver conclusions verified by your happy chewing. You ease onto a cushioned bench, hugging the ziggurat's outer wall. Sunlight angles toward late afternoon, softening into buttery rays that paint every brick with sleepy radiance. Courtiers lounge nearby, gossiping about trade deals in lapis lazuli and cedarwood tariffs, yet the rumble of city traffic, donkey carts, water carriers, distant blacksmith hammers, muffles into a hypnotic background lull. Even the wind, snagging on parapet edges, purrs like a distant fan. Your stomach full, but politely grateful, sends up the white flag of contentment. A palace physician in rose-coloured robes offers you a digestive, mint tarragon infusion served in a clay goblet embossed with stylized fish. You sip, the mint cools, the tarragon whispers anise, and digestion shifts into cruise mode. You remember the Egyptian priest's wink and realize priests everywhere understand the value of a well-timed after-dinner herb. As shadows lengthen, torchbearers ignite reed bundles soaked in aromatic resins. Flames dance orange and teal, releasing piney sweetness that mingles with leftover sesame smoke. Somewhere, a child laughs, chasing a hoop down the ramp. His giggle echoes up to you like a soft percussion instrument. Babylon, for all its sky-grazing grandeur, suddenly feels intimate, an oversized balcony where strangers share bread, cheese, and fleeting peace under watchful stars. A hush falls when the chief astronomer clears his throat, scroll unfurled. He predicts tranquil nights ahead, Mars behaving, comets nowhere in sight. You sigh relief. No last-minute celestial drama to rearrange dessert menus. All that remains is to lean into the warm brick behind you, let the torches flicker patterns on your eyelids, and breathe out the day's dust and delight. Tomorrow will ferry you east toward Persia's paradise gardens, but for now, your head nods in slow approval, and Babylon's lullaby soaks through each muscle like velvet twilight. Twilight coasts you eastward, slipping over dust-pink ridges of the Zagros, until the air turns crisp, piney, and faintly peppered with desert sage. One moment you're still leaning against Babylon's warm bricks. The next, your sandals land on a silk-lined terrace in Persepolis, capital of empire and aspirational decorative gardening. A canal murmurs nearby. Cool spring water diverted by Qanat tunnels that run underground like secret veins. Jasmine rides the breeze, and bronze braziers flicker to life, tossing coin-sized sparks into a sky now deepening to violet. Somewhere, just beyond the plane trees, a nightingale attempts a rather smug solo. You suspect he's the court's unofficial maitre d'. Your guide tonight is a steward with a beard oiled smoother than marble. He gestures toward a colonnaded gate, where carved stone bulls shoulder fluted capitals. While Babylon felt vertical, every inch clawing toward the heavens, Persia sprawls horizontal, confident that paradise can be coaxed from earth itself. The steward presents a lacquered sandalwood fan, topped with ostrich plumes. In case the pomegranate pollen tickles your nose, he notes, eyes twinkling. Naturally, you wield it like an oversized dessert spoon. You follow him into the Paradisa, the original paradise garden. Raised beds burst with silvery sage, emerald mint, and ruby-red pomegranate globes dangling overhead. Underfoot, polished limestone stays cool thanks to hidden aqueducts. Each step releases a faint chill that massages travel-weary arches. Imagine Babylonian sesame dust still clinging to your robe. Here, saffron vapors promise to trade it for gold. A low table awaits. Cedar, inlaid with turquoise and mother of pearl. Positioned over a stream so narrow, you could drag fingertips through it between bites. Cushions tower like mini mountains of brocade. You sink in. Knees folding lotus style. Musicians gather under a cypress. One plucks a sitar, strings sighing like sleepy cats. Another strokes a Comanche, coaxing notes that spiral upward. Hesitant at first, then drape the night like gossamer. Servants appear bearing silver platters studded with grilled apricots, walnut-stuffed dates and pistachio halves, dusted in rose powder. These are mere preludes. The steward himself sets the centerpiece. A domed copper pot he lifts with theatrical flair, releasing a plume fragrant enough to make Hellenistic tourists weep. Inside glows saffron rice flecked with barberries, candied orange peel, and slivered almonds. Jeweled rice. It's basically edible confetti. You scoop a spoonful, Grains shimmer like sunlight caught in liquid amber. Tart berries popping between molars, then dissolving into floral sweetness. Did you know Persians pioneered the art of parboiling rice, then steaming it under a cloth to create tadig? That coveted golden crust? Tonight's crust arrives intact, sliced like a pie so each guest competes for the crunchiest shard. You claim a corner, the crack echoes through the garden, perhaps registering on some ancient seismograph. Next, chilled melon wine arrives in squat crystal decanters beaded with condensation. The first sip is winter masquerading as midsummer, icy, faintly herbal, with whispers of lime and mint. The trick, your steward explains, lies in towering mud brick ice houses called yakhchals. Even under blast furnace summers, they stored winter snow beneath thick insulation so the king could sip frost-kissed drinks in July, effectively inventing the royal slushy. You toast to pre-air conditioning ingenuity and let the coolness skate down your spine. A hush ripples through the courtyard. Courtiers in long silk robes, colours shifting from peacock blue to fig purple, straighten as the Shah strides in. He looks surprisingly relaxed for a man managing satrapies as far as India. Maybe it's the melon wine. He waves graciously, then signals for the next course. Lamb slow-braised with quince and prunes, its aroma weaving cinnamon, cardamom, and a base note of smoky cumin. The meat is tender enough to doubt it ever had bones. You fold morsels into sheets of thin lavash, adding spoonfuls of yogurt laced with dill. One bite, and the quince melts tart against sweet prune, while lamb melts altogether. Flavour fireworks spark down every nerve. Torches ignite along the garden perimeter, their reflections fencing in shallow pools that double as cooling mirrors. You notice pomegranate petals floating on the water, turning liquid surfaces into abstract art. Somewhere, a storyteller begins reciting the legends of Rostam and Sohrab, voice rolling like distant thunder, yet softened by the water's hush. The cadence lulls you into that sweet limbo between alert and dream-dazed, the same space where you somehow remember crocodile dung sunscreen from Egypt and sesame astrology from Babylon, all now stitched into your expanding travel blanket. Dessert unfurls as a trio. Saffron ice cream studded with frozen cherries, cardamom rosewater pudding crowned with crushed pistachios, and wafer-thin almond cookies shaped like crescent moons. You spoon the ice cream first, sweet, floral and icy enough to make teeth tingle. The cherries deliver quick bursts of brightness, like red lanterns popping in a night sky. Pudding follows, velvet smooth, perfumed, yet not cloying. Finally, the almonds, crisp, lightly sweet, disappearing faster than you can articulate metaphors. Each treat is precisely portioned to lull rather than jolt, an edible lullaby clothed in spice. A light breeze teases scented smoke from a nearby censer, where embers glow under myrrh resin. The aroma threads through your thoughts, wrapping them in warm silk. Palace cats emerge, slinking along the low walls, eyes lantern bright. One hops into your lap, kneads the cushion like a doughmaster, then settles. Purr vibrations ripple through your thighs, syncing heartbeat to lullaby tempo. Across the stream, grapes hang heavy under braided lattice, their skins shining midnight blue. A gardener snips a bunch, offers it wordlessly. You pluck one, burst of sweet, hint of tannin, then idly toss a grape into the channel, watching it sail downstream like a tiny moonboat. Water burbles, sounding increasingly like muffled applause for your exquisite aim. Overhead, constellations unfurl. The Big Dipper tips just enough to suggest it's ready to ladle more melon wine. A eunuch brings a final draught, warm milk perfumed with saffron, meant to coax royal minds toward calm dreams. You sip. The milk's heat unknots shoulders. Saffron hums golden inside chest. Musicians fade into slower rhythms, Comanche bow barely kissing strings. Notes smear together like wet paint. Your eyes droop. Pillow-soft cushions yield deeper. The cat in your lap stretches then curls tighter. You let the fan slide from fingers. Ostrich plumes flutter onto carpet like falling feathers from some mythical bird of slumber. Somewhere, a water clock clicks, a gentle tick reminding everyone that tomorrow is someone else's feast, but tonight belongs to pomegranates, saffron, and star-flecked silence. For now, you allow eyelids to slant half-mast, breathing in the scent of roses cracking open under night dew. A distant nightingale resumes his solo. The melody hovers, circles, and finally folds like a silk scarf in the warm Persian dusk. The Persian night is still clinging to your hair when the scene tilts, flips, and steadies again beneath a bright Aegean sky. Salt wind whooshes in like a friendly slap, replacing rose-scented dusk with briny sunshine. You're standing on a marble threshold in Athens, sandals clicking across inlaid dolphin mosaics that practically wink at you. It's late afternoon, prime time for a symposium. Half dinner party, half intellectual smackdown, wholly devoted to stretching the mind and the waistband in equal measure. You follow a slave boy balancing a silver crater of wine so full it hushes with its own tides. He nods you into the andron, the men's banqueting room, where couches circle a low table littered with clay mixing bowls, fig leaves, and already crumbs of cheese that look suspiciously pilfered. The air is feathered with wood smoke and the sharp green perfume of freshly split olives. A lazy lute twangs somewhere off stage, warming up like a cat testing the softness of the rug. Your assigned couch is angled for maximum eavesdropping. To your left reclines a linen-robed aristocrat twirling his moustache with the practiced boredom of someone who inherited both vineyard and vote. To your right, a young philosopher jots hurried notes on a wax tablet, because naturally every good snack deserves footnotes. A slave pours diluted wine. 3 parts water if you're respectable, 1 part if you plan to start quoting epic poetry by dessert. Glug, glug, swirl, sip, citrusy, pine-tinged, cooling the tongue like a sea breeze in bottle form. Did you know? Ancient Athenians flavoured their wine with sticky pine resin, creating an ancestor of modern resina that doubled as both drink and wood preservative. You can almost taste the shipyards. Plates arrive in parade formation. First up, glossy black olives marinated in thyme, oregano, and something lemony that makes them sparkle against your palate. You juggle 2, pop them in quick succession, and pretend the pits are philosophical arguments. Some you swallow, some you spit discreetly into the pit jar. Across the table, a bearded fellow whispers a joke about Pythagoras' fear of beans. 2 listeners snort resina through their noses, which technically counts as nasal irrigation. A low bowl of honeyed cheese follows, flecked with crushed pistachios and ribbons of mint. You scoop it onto barley flatbread, still steaming from a clay oven outside. Steam curls upward, catching shafts of sunlight like miniature stage fog. The bread tastes of toasted nuts and the faint smoke of olive wood, that familiar ancient ode to campfire. 1 bite, 2, and you exhale a sigh that any therapist would classify as extreme relaxation. Down the couch line, conversation shifts to the recent staging of a new tragedy. An orator with eyebrows like startled ferrets claims that chorus was off-key. The playwright's cousin retorts that subtlety is lost on mere politicians. Voices rise, but only just. This is Athens, after all, where even insults require meter. Between volleys, you notice platters of stuffed grape leaves, dolmaidacha, being ferried in. They're plump as pocket watches, glistening with olive oil. You pinch one, obliging the leaf to peel back, so rice spiced with fennel and pine nuts peeks out. Vinegar tang sizzles against savoury herbs. It's a tiny, tangy sleeping bag for your taste buds. Historians still argue whether Socrates ever paid his symposium tab, the philosopher beside you quips, scribbling it down before the joke can escape. You laugh, mid-swallow, which forces you to chase the choke with a quick slug of wine. The moustached aristocrat offers a sympathetic clap on your back. Less Heimlich, more cheer up, it happens. Next enters a roasted sea bass, skin crackling bronze, eyes glazed in what looks like satisfied surrender. Slaves lift fillets free, douse them in garum-esque fish sauce brightened with dill and citrus. You slide a morsel onto bread, add a sneer of pungent goat cheese, and create the earliest recorded fish taco. Don't tell the Mesoamericans. The flavour is seaside picnic meets philosopher's paycheck. Salty, tangy, anchored by creamy funk. A sudden hush spreads as an elder wit, call him Critihies, raises a ceramic kylix, its rim painted with a little satyr dancing dangerously close to the edge. Critihies proposes a toast. to moderation, which everyone finds hilarious given a table's growing chaos. He drains the cup anyway, proving moderation is best admired from a distance. You follow, savouring resin-kissed wine that leaves your lips sticky and your mood unreasonably optimistic. Olive pits pile up in a terracotta dish shaped like a miniature ship. You nudge them with a finger, arranging them into a crude constellation that looks vaguely like the Persian nightingale's trajectory. A slave clears them away before you can name the star pattern Snack Zor. New delights swoop in. Fried chickpea balls, proto-falafel, dressed in garlic yogurt, crisp shell, fluffy heart, tangy cool sauce. They vanish faster than you can craft adjectives. Laughter crescendos. The philosopher recites a clipping from Heraclitus about ever-changing rivers, while a heckler insists the river outside is mostly sewage. The group collapses into giggles. You realize this isn't mere dining. It's social Velcro, binding citizens with shared crumbs and harmless dome-smacking puns. Dessert launches as soon as the lyre picks up a languid chord progression. Honey cakes appear, tiny discs made of sesame and almond flour, fried, then bathed in warm honey until they shimmer. They're served with fresh figs, split like open secrets. You bite a cake. Hot honey floods your mouth and decides to stay a while. Figs follow, cooling, earthy, sweet as whispered promises. Soft dusklight filters through the open doorway. Outside, cicadas strike up their metallic choir, the sound stretching across olive groves like a silver net. Indoors, oil lamps flicker, painting noses and cheeks with gold. Someone starts a drinking game involving quotes from Homer. You wisely fake hiccups and nurse your cup, because time travel hangovers are murder. Your eyelids droop. Retsina hums in veins. Pillows on the couch seem to expand like marshmallows. The low lute slows to a heartbeat rhythm, each pluck drawing you nearer to that slippery ledge between witty wakefulness and dreamland. Last call arrives as a drizzle of chilled myrtle cordial, sweet, herbal, faintly medicinal. You tip the cup back, feel its coolness burrow into chest, then nestle into the cushions, belly warm, mind floaty, soul lightly buzzing like a contented bee. Athens hums around you, gossip, philosophy, and the rustle of grape leaves catching evening wind. Your thoughts wander, remember Persian saffron ice and Babylonian sesame stars, then return to the present softness of barley bread and pine-scented wine. The city's marble columns hush to silhouettes, voices blur. A final olive's brine clings to your lips like a salty lullaby. You inhale, exhale, and let the world tilt once more towards sleep. Night folds away, trading Mediterranean moonlight for the faint silver glow above Chang'an, capital of Han splendor and silk trader gossip. One gentle sideways step, half dream, half breeze, and you find yourself beneath a vermilion gate carved with cloud scrolls. Lanterns sway overhead, their gauzy silk shades painted with plums and cranes that seem to flap whenever the wind exhales. Courtiers in layered robes glide past like living brushstrokes, sleeves whispering against polished stone. Somewhere a wooden clapper ticks time, but the palace itself appears to run on tea steam and quiet anticipation. You pad along a jade-inlaid corridor. The stone is cool, veined with faint mossy lines that glow when torches catch them, almost like stars trapped under glass. A steward in moon-white silk bows invites you into the morning dining hall, a lofty chamber where carved rafters resemble rolling waves. The air smells of freshly steamed dough and early spring bamboo shoots, spiced with a shiver of ginger. Low tables form a horseshoe around a sunken hearth. Cushions the colour of ripening peaches entice you down. Servants waft in, balancing bamboo baskets stacked like pagoda tiers. With a flourish, the top basket is unveiled, pillowy manto, steamed wheat buns, as white and soft as cumulonimbus. You tear one open, steam swirls out, carrying a buttery sweet aroma that clings to your fingertips. Did you know Han Dynasty chefs sometimes stamped imperial dragon seals into bun tops, both as branding and as an early tamper-evident guarantee? No dragon stamp tonight, but the pillow still tastes of prestige, delicate, slightly sweet, melting into airy nothingness before your second chew. Next arrives a porcelain bowl glazed celadon green. Inside glimmers so-called five-spice plum soup. dark magenta broth speckled with star anise seeds and slender citrus peel coils. You lift a jade spoon. Plum fragrance rises, tart yet honeyed, like spring rain over an orchard in bloom. The first sip warms you from tongue to toes, sweetness dancing with subtle peppery kick. If a modern smoothie bar tried to replicate this, they'd have to name it Zen Sunrise and charge extra for ancestral authenticity. Across the hearth, a trio of court musicians tunes guzheng strings. One plucks a scale that flutters like swallow wings, then lets the note fade into pine-scented silence. The gentle music seems almost edible, an oral side dish to complement the rising steam. As you reach for a second bun, a young scholar murmurs about the emperor's new astronomical edict. Noble families must host dawn observances twice a month to honor the celestial harmony of breakfast. You nod, sagely, deciding that you can absolutely get behind mandated brunch stargazing. A circular tray of lacquered cups appears, each filled with translucent amber liquid, freshly whisked Longjing Dragonwell tea. Its surface trembles like an anxious mirror. You inhale, grassy sweetness mingles with roasted chestnut aroma, subtle but persistent. You sip, feeling the bitterness nip just behind the sweetness, a balance so precise it could double as moral philosophy. The warmth slips down your throat and spreads like a silk scarf being unfurled along your spine. For variety, a chef brings out bamboo leaf packets tied with red string. Inside lies sticky rice studded with bits of candied citrus, chopped jujube, and sesame. You unwrap one, and it glistens like a small treasure hoard when the torchlight hits. The rice is chewy, the fruit pops bright, and sesame scattered nutty whispers across each bite. Somewhere in the corner, two officials debate tariff reform in voices softer than the simmering soup pot. Even bureaucracy feels politely hushed this early. A gentle clang echoes. Bronze bells atop a rotating spit announce that soy-braised quail has finished its slow spin. The chef brushes glaze, soy, Shaoxing wine, and hawthorn syrup over crisp skin until it reflects lantern light. He carves a sliver for you. Meat yields tender, smoky sweet with a faint tang from fermented beans. Paired with Dragonwell tea, it's breakfast theatre worthy of front-row cushions. You glance outside, through latticed windows. The imperial gardens wake up under mist. Dew-clad peonies blush in slow motion, and goldfish stir dim ripples in still ponds. Two eunuchs sweep cherry petals from stone paths, each brushstroke quiet as snowfall. Somewhere, a silk-robed princess releases a pet myna bird. It chirps a phrase suspiciously like, "More buns, please," then flaps away toward the apricot trees. Between courses, servants burn thin coils of sandalwood incense. Smoke curls upward, tracing invisible calligraphy that reads something like, "Relax deeper, dream longer." You obey, letting shoulders sink. A callback flits across your mind. Remember that crunchy tadig from Persia and sesame kushu from Babylon? Today's buns echo that same universal truth. Good carbs transcend borders. A small clatter draws your eye. An alchemist doctor arranges porcelain bottles of pear flower liquor, ostensibly medicinal. He nudges a cup toward you. The liquor is clear, fragrant, and gentle, kissing cheeks with a soft bloom of warmth. The doctor claims it steadies nerves and calms wandering spirits, which sounds like a plausible prescription for time-hopping jet lag. You tip the cup. The warmth spreads to fingertips, perhaps even coaxing your pulse into a Tai Chi rhythm. Sunlight begins teasing the lattice screens, painting tiger stripe patterns over the floor. Servants bring the finale. Translucent almond jelly cubes floating in osmanthus syrup, garnished with tiny silver pearls of cooled sago. One spoonful wobbles like moonlight trapped in dessert. Flavor glides delicate. Almond whisper, floral hint, faint sugar sigh. It's less a taste than a lullaby you swallow. The guzheng music slows to almost nothing, strings ringing in afterglow rather than notes. A light gust passes through, ruffling scrolls on a scholar's desk and carrying the faintest note of paper and ink. As you set down your spoon, a shy palace attendant rolls up a silk screen depicting cranes in flight and unfurls a new one, plum blossoms drifting downstream. The subtle scene change signals retreat from food toward contemplative pause. You lean back on the cushion, fingers reaching absent-mindedly for the rim of the teacup, tracing its smooth coolness. Somewhere deep in the hallway, a bronze water clock drops a bead into a receiving bowl. Plink, marking the official start of administrative duties. But for you, it's a bedtime lull. Dragonwell's lingering aftertaste hums on your palate. Quail's smoky sweetness drifts like a warm memory. The bun's soft crumb still coats inner cheeks in comfortable starch. Outside, palace guards switch shifts, ceremonial halberds clicking. Swallows circle the eaves, practicing aerial ballet. You watch until they become blurry streaks, eyelids heavy, each blink longer than the last. Morning's brightness diffuses through semi-closed lashes, turning to pastel hazes. You let the final sigh escape, flavoured faintly of osmanthus syrup, and your shoulders slump into contented weightlessness. The next leg of your odyssey, a Gupta courtyard at high noon, can wait. For now, the hand-dawn kneads you like fresh dough, shaping dreams into soft crescents ready to steam. Gold noon drapes itself over the palace of Pataliputra like a silk shawl, and heat shimmers above sandstone courtyards where peacocks pace as if auditioning for jewelled mosaics. You blink. Their tail feathers flash emerald, sapphire, and sudden topaz, echoing the coins clinking in merchants' purses just beyond the palace wall. A gong rings, light, decisive, the culinary equivalent of a starting pistol. Time for lunch in the Gupta heartland, where sunshine tastes of ripe mangoes and ghee practically flows through the irrigation canals. A servant waves a yak hair fan, coaxing you beneath a carved teak archway where elephant motifs curl around lotuses. Inside the golden courtyard, bronze cauldrons bubble over charcoal braziers. Each pot exhales clouds of cardamom, turmeric, and something fruity you can't quite place. It lands on your tongue merely through the air, a phantom nibble. Did you know the Guptas pioneered new varieties of mango, so prized that poets compared the fruit to liquid gold trapped in velvet skin? One such cultivar stews right now in lamb curry so fragrant that even the palace cat, shameless from Persia, reclines nearby, eyes half closed in aromatic bliss. You settle onto a low sandalwood bench, inlaid with ivory filigree depicting dancers mid-twirl. An attendant pours cool water over your hands from a silver ewer. The stream smells faintly of vetiver, instantly whisking away lingering Dragonwell tea memories. To one side, a copper platter arrives stacked with puffy puris, deep-fried wheat balloons that collapse into buttery steam the second you puncture them. You resist, barely, as etiquette dictates waiting for the king's ceremonial first bite. A courtier whispers that His Majesty is delayed by philosophical debate concerning the nature of time. Ironic, given how urgently your stomach ticks. Across a tiled aisle, two scholars argue about celestial calculations, gesturing with goose quill pens as if fencing. You catch a snippet. Historians still argue whether Aryabhata dined on pepper rice or plain barley while composing his star tables, one mutters. Food as creative fuel. Sounds familiar after Babylonian sesame cakes and Athenian olive bowl philosophy. At last, the royal taste tester nods approval and lunch launches. First course. Kosambari salad. Soaked, split mung beans tossed with grated coconut, slivers of cucumber, and a tempering of mustard seeds sizzling in clarified butter. You scoop a bite with a torn corner of puri. Mustard pops like tiny fireworks, while coconut cools, making your taste buds jog between beach holiday and spice bazaar. Stewards glide in with ornate kanza bowls of mango lamb curry. The gravy glints turmeric gold, studded with sunset orange mango cubes. You nudge tender lamb with your spoon. It yields like memory foam, releasing juices that mingle fruit sweetness with slow burn chili. You cup the sauce with another puri, letting it seep through airy layers until fingers gleam yellow. Lick. Sigh. This is traffic-stopping comfort. Somewhere behind you, a wooden pestle pounds rhythmically in a mortar, crushing roasted cumin for fragrant rice soon to emerge. Meanwhile, a brass platter of fried eggplant rounds lands nearby, each slice dusted with hing and coriander. One crunch, and the eggplant collapses, smoky and almost creamy, echoing the smooth lamb, yet adding its own charred bass note. A court musician picks up a veena, plucks a scale that dips and soars like a peacock feather, caught in thermal lift. The melody loops through the cloistered archways, coaxing servants into almost dance as they fetch earthen pitchers of spiced buttermilk, chasse, flecked with mint and toasted cumin. You gulp, and its cool tang reins in the curry's spicier impulses, persuading your tongue to keep adventuring. Across the courtyard, a young poet scribbles lines onto palm leaves, pausing only to inhale the scent of ghee-fried lentil fritters, vada, just delivered. He recites a couplet praising the fritters' crisp armour and tender heart, then hands you one for peer review. Bite, shatter of crust, then fluffy pulse batter tinged with ginger and curry leaf. You give a thumbs up. He bows like you're a one-person publishing house. Remember the rosemary-flavoured sesame cakes of Babylon? The Guptas raise you a dessert appetizer. Shards of sesame jaggery brittle, till chicky, so slick and shiny they reflect your mango-stained grin. Sweet, nutty, with a mineral snap that threatens dental work but promises bliss. It pairs brilliantly with tiny cups of hot palm sap syrup called Nolin Gur. Servants unveil the rice, long grains tinted by saffron and studded with cashews, raisins and fried shallot slivers. Each spoonful balances sweet, nut and aromatic. It's a tamer cousin to Persia's jeweled rice, yet equally regal. You heap curry over it, stirring until grains inherit golden glow and speckles of green coriander. Bells jingle, not temple bells but anklets on a peacock of all things. The royal bird trainer guides a pair of bejeweled peacocks into the courtyard. Feathers catch sunlight, gemstones in their plumes hint at emerald, ruby and topaz. The birds strut between tables, occasionally pecking fallen rice, clearly part of the entertainment budget. Dessert proper lands like a silk curtain drop. Kheer. Rice pudding simmered in milk, cardamom and saffron, served chilled in shallow terracotta bowls whose porous walls keep the pudding cool. A garnish of silver leaf ripples on its surface, catching stray sunbeams. You scoop a spoonful, it glides velvety, whispering sugarcane sweetness and floral spice. Beneath, you uncover raisins bloated with syrup and slivered pistachios that crunch like distant applause. A breeze saunters through, shaking sal trees and sending blossoms drifting across mosaic tiles. Petals land on your curry-flecked pori like edible confetti. The vina slows. The courtyard hums at nap-time frequency. You lean back against the teaked bench, letting sunlight dapple eyelids. The buttermilk's coolness lingers. Curry warmth pulses in satisfied waves. Sesame brittle crackles between teeth in delayed encore. In a corner shaded by banana leaves, two mathematicians trace sine curves in sand, using spilled rice grains as plotting points. Their quiet focus reminds you that creativity often grows best when the stomach is properly pampered. A servant steals by, offering perfumed water to rinse fingers. Rose and jasmine blur into gentle floral fog, washing away turmeric traces while leaving fragrance to follow you into dreams. Drowsiness drapes itself over shoulders like a fine muslin shawl. Somewhere, a conch shell blows, signalling the emperor's next audience. Palace corridors begin murmuring with administrative urgency. But your role in this empire is strictly horizontal at the moment. Digest, drift, and later recall these flavors with the fondness reserved for bedtime stories. You exhale a slow, spice-laden sigh. The smell of mango curry lingers in hair and heart, a souvenir more vivid than any coin. Sunlight tilts, peacock feathers shimmer, and the golden courtyard blurs at edges as eyelids weigh heavier than bronze pots. Ahead waits nightfall among Maya glyphs and droplet foam. But for now, you rest inside the hush of a Gupta noon, the world a warm bowl of kheer, balanced perfectly between your hands. The heat of the Gupta courtyard is still twirling on your tongue when the world pirouettes again. Cassia breezes evaporate, mango gold drains from the sky, and suddenly you are inhaling humid jungle twilight. Along the Usumachinta River, a choir of tree frogs clicks overhead like misfiring castanets, and flame-orange heliconia nod beside limestone steps. You brush a frond aside, and step into a plaza where stelae rise like giant exclamation points, carved with interlocking serpents. Torchlight paints everything molten amber, and shadows dance over painted stucco walls that once flashed bright red before sun and centuries tamed them. A prescribe beckons, face half hidden behind a jaguar mask so smooth it looks sculpted from night itself. He tips his obsidian blade in greeting, nothing menacing, more maître d' flourish, then guides you toward a low altar laid for an evening feast. The limestone benches are draped with jaguar pelt throws. You sink into one, the fur warm against the evening chill that sneaks in after sunset. Coals crackle in clay braziers, sending plumes of copal thick as incense you remember from Persian gardens, only deeper, resinous, tinged with earthy chocolate. The first platter arrives, strips of turkey rubbed in ground cacao and chili, roasted until edges char just shy of black. You lift a piece. Your fingertips dusted in chocolate look like you've nicked brownie batter. But one bite tells a richer story. Smoky meat, subtle bitterness, a spark of heat blooming right behind molars. The taste is like a campfire telling secrets. Did you know? The Maya prized cacao beans so highly that market stalls used them as currency, counting out handfuls for everything from tomatoes to full-grown slaves. Tonight, your turkey is wearing a literal paycheck. A mortar boy thumps cacao nibs with a basalt pestle, his rhythm echoing the marimba like frogs. He scrapes the crushed nibs into a spouted jar, adds water, chili, and a dash of honey, then tops the mixture with frothy foam by pouring it from shoulder height, a liquid ribbon shimmering in torchlight before splashing back. He presents a painted calabash cup. You sip, and the drink is cool, gently bitter, spiced, and oddly refreshing, light years from modern sugary cocoa, yet intimate in its earthiness. Across the plaza, stargazers adjust bark paper codices, waiting for Jupiter to crest the saber silhouette. One elder marks a glyph for long count, and you remember mathematicians tracing sine waves in curry-dusted sand back in India. Apparently dinner and advanced math never part company. A stone carver chisels nearby, chips spraying like sparks. He's recording tonight's feast on a stela, each curl of turkey smoke immortalized in limestone. You try not to crunch loudly. History might catch the sound forever. Next course, tamales wrapped in banana leaves, steam ballooning their glossy green packets. Inside, masa is studded with squash blossom, roasted cacao husk, and slivers of venison. You unwrap one and jungle perfume. Leafy, nutty, slightly floral, rushes free. The masa is soft but substantial, an edible lullaby that anchors the chilly bright turkey. Beside it lies a wedge of avocado, sprinkled with ground allspice and lime. You swipe the tamale through, and flavors interlock. Creamy, tart, warm, like puzzle stones in a perfect temple wall. Somewhere drums begin a heartbeat cadence. Dancers dressed as howler monkeys leap into the torchlight, limbs jerking, tails swishing. They twist around you, hooting until laughter bubbles like spring water from your chest. A nearby child snatches a drumstick of cacao-rubbed turkey, brandishes it like a scepter, and chases the dancers out of frame. Grown-ups pretend scandal while hiding grins behind painted gourds of froth. A slave fan wafts the braziers, coaxing sparks upward so embers mimic constellations. The scribe in jaguar mask sets before you a bowl of sikal pak, pumpkin seed dip, shot through with roasted tomato and cilantro. You scoop with a crisp tortilla wedge, and the seeds crunch in toasty bass notes that ground the bright tomato soprano. Somewhere in the back of your palate, sesame seeds from Babylon nod in recognition. Cousins reunited under moonlight. The moon itself hauls its silver body over the treetops, illuminating the stepped pyramids beyond. Bats erupt, scribbling calligraphy against the glow. A flute picks up the drum pulse, layering melancholy over rhythm like dew on spider silk. You recline on the pelt, let shoulders unhitch. Chocolate perfume thickens, mingling with copal so that every inhale feels half dessert, half sacred vow. A novice cook brings you a small clay bowl of atole, corn gruel sweetened with honey and thickened with ground cacao shells. It's warm, comforting, less intense than the frothy cold drink, perfect for winding the pace down. You sip slowly. The drink coats throat and eases the chilly sparks still flickering on tongue. Torches gutter, replaced by ceramic oil lamps that throw steadier, softer light. Shadows settle like quilts over the plaza, Chatter dims to murmurs. The scribe leans forward, mask unfathomable, and traces a glyph in the dust, a stylized hand grasping a cacao pod. He explains, in soft Yucatec, the glyph means to open the knight's heart. Then he pantomimes cracking the pod. Two servants part a fresh cacao fruit, revealing pale, pulpy seeds. They set halves on the altar with reverence, an offering to whatever gods might still be listening. You feel the ritual tugging at eyelids. Frogs slow their tempo, drums hush to a muted boom spaced wide like distant thunder rolling across ancient memories. Even the bats retreat, silhouettes dissolving into dark treetops. You nibble one last turkey strip, charred edges crisp like coffee grounds, interior tender as bedtime bread. Taste buds hum, then sigh. The final sensation comes from a cool cloth dabbed across forehead and wrists, infused with crushed xoko flowers, whose scent is part jasmine, part rain-kissed earth. Each dab draws heat out, leaving dew-cool calm behind. You lie back on the pelt. Stars ignite overhead, bright pinpricks in obsidian tapestry, and the Milky Way sprawls like a dusting of ground cacao across cosmic foam. Remember Egypt's honey fig sunrise, Persia's saffron ice dusk, and Gupta mango noon. Now you float in midnight chocolate, each memory layering into an astronomical parfait. The drums fade to your own heartbeat, torches blur. Jaguar eyes on the mast gleam once, then still. You hold the calabash cup to lips, inhale the last scent of cacao, exhale a thread of breath that sounds suspiciously like a purr. Sleep edges closer, padded and silent, ready to pounce. You let it, unresisting, while the stone carver inscribes your satisfied sigh onto tomorrow's history. Cocoa foam clings to your upper lip as eyelids slide shut. The jungle, the plaza, the stars, and even the frog castanets dim to velvet hush. Twilight melts from jungle midnight to highland dusk so smoothly that you barely notice the change until your nose twitches at the new perfume. Sweet frankincense curling from braziers, mingling with roasted coffee and faint citrus on the breeze. You stand atop a basalt terrace overlooking Axum, capital of a kingdom where obelisks spear the sky and gold-leafed manuscripts catch candlelight in cliffside monasteries. Below, the city glimmers with oil lamps, each flame a tiny echo of the equatorial sun that slipped behind eucalyptus-shaded hills only minutes ago. A court herald in ivory beads ushers you into a sunken courtyard paved with red-gold sandstone, still warm beneath your soles. Carved pillars frame the space, their capitals shaped like inverted lilies, their surfaces shining smooth from centuries of festival dancing. Nearby, a trio of musicians tune kra harps, hollow wood inlaid with precious horn, strings humming like warm wind over bottle gourds. As they pluck, the air thickens with lullaby vibrations that settle in your sternum like a second heartbeat. A low table wrapped in woven grass mats awaits, and cushions stuffed with baobab fluff embrace you the moment you kneel. A bronze ewer appears, pouring honey wine, tej, into polished horn cups. The liquid glows amber, casting lazy ripples of light over your fingers. First, sip. Tangy sweet, floral from gesho leaves, with a warm buzz uncorking right behind your eyes. Did you know Axumite beekeepers carved hives into cliff faces, training entire swarms to glide home by the scent of frankincense trees that doubled as natural smokescreens against predators? Every swallow of tej holds a map of cliff and blossom. Platters soon follow, a massive round of injera, spongy and sour, spread across a wicker basket like an edible tablecloth. On its landscape sit mounds of spiced lentils, missia wat, rust red with bearberry, alongside buttery collard greens, turmeric bright cabbage, and cubes of slow braised goat gently fogging the night air with cardamom. You pinch a flap of injera, scoop lentils. The bread drinks the sauce instantly, pulsing into tangy, spicy comfort that warms all memories from figgy Nile dawn to chocolate Maya midnight. Across the courtyard, a priest lights a fat lump of frankincense. Smoke rises blue-grey, sweet yet resinous, looping in lazy spirals that seem choreographed to harp strings. A scholar leans toward you, eyes glinting in half-shadow. Historians still argue whether Axum traded tej to Roman merchants or reserved it strictly for royal rights, he murmurs, tearing a piece of injera with deliberate grace. You shrug, sip again, and imagine Roman senators wobbling down Mediterranean docks after a horn cup or two. An amusing picture, even if unverified. More dishes land with gentle thumps. There's doro alicha, chicken simmered in ginger and fenugreek. Cubes practically fall off bone before you even think to chew. Sweet roasted carrots with honey and cumin share space with jewel bright pomegranate seeds, tiny explosions of tart that cut through buttery sauces. Across the table, a slender diplomat dips injera into green lentil stew, then sketches camel caravans in the air, boasting about ivory exports riding north to Egypt, history networking one bite at a time. The harps shift into slower modes, notes lingering just long enough to brush against the coppery dusk. Fireflies join, blinking in random but strangely harmonious counterpoint. You pause. Let goat and Berber heat unfurl down throat like a silk scarf unwinding, and feel eyelids soften. A servant sets out a small clay bowl of Berber mixed with salt. You dab a fingertip, taste the spice, straight. Smoky, peppery, citrusy. It snaps you awake. A gentle reminder that even bedtime history needs a spark. You chase the heat with a chunk of fresh honeycomb offered on a fig leaf. Wax and liquid honey mingle, sweet, fat crystals crunch between molars, quenching spice and layering floral bass notes under every heartbeat. Nearby, incense smoke thickens, brushing skin like soft goat hair brushes. In its haze, an elderly singer begins a chant so low it feels carved from basalt itself. Her voice rises, draping mournful scales over the courtyard, until time dilates. The night might be 15 centuries deep by now. You remember Babylonian astronomers and Athenian philosophers, each voice part of a cosmic choir, all singing your eyelids heavier. Peacock bright textiles hang along the walls, turquoise, saffron, deep indigo, catching harp vibrations and shifting faintly like waves. Between fabrics, tall steely silhouettes stand watch, their carved false doors hinting at portals to afterlives where banquets never end. You wonder if future travelers will nibble holographic injera while dreaming of you, time's sleepy eyewitness. The meal glides onward. Roasted coffee arrives in ebony cups no bigger than thimbles, their surfaces reflecting starlight. The brew is dark, fruity, borderline chocolate, served with a sprinkle of sea salt and a single roasted chickpea on the side. Palate-cleansing minimalism. One sip perks senses just enough to savor final sweets, dabo colo, tiny wheat nuggets fried crisp, glazed in spiced honey, and slices of dense himbasha bread, its crust etched with geometric rosettes, said to trap blessings between cracks. You crack one segment, releasing vanilla-scented steam, and watch it curl into the laughter of children playing tag beyond the archway. Wind drifts through eucalyptus leaves, adding soft sibilance to the music. An acolyte extinguishes one brazier, then another. Smoke thins, revealing a sliver moon perched above distant obelisks. You lean back, shoulders finding cushion give, belly pleasantly weighted but nowhere near revolt. The honey wine warmth now travels your veins like golden fireflies, guiding thoughts into softer glades. A cat slinks by, sleek, sandy-furred, with two mismatched eyes, one Nile green, one saffron gold. Perhaps her ancestors shared sardines beneath Egyptian temples, then hopped trade ships to Ethiopia. She kneads your ankle knowingly before disappearing into shadows that smell of coffee husks and cedar. Harp strings slow. Final chord hangs, then dissolves like honey melting on hot stone. Dancers extinguish remaining lamps, leaving only star shimmer and a faint glow from cooling embers. You draw in breath, frankincense, berbere, honeycomb, and exhale something older than story, but softer than lullaby. Across the courtyard, the priest lifts a conch trumpet, blows a single mellow note. It drifts over rooftops, calling fishermen on the distant Red Sea to lower sails, calling monks to bedtime psalms, calling you to untangle from cushioned gravity. But you don't stand. Instead, you nestle deeper, letting cold basalt edge kiss warmed palms. Tomorrow's moon-viewing banquet in Heian, Kyoto can wait outside time's steeler-door. Tonight belongs to honey wine, sponge-soft bread, and the slow hush of an ancient kingdom closing its eyes. A faint bell chimes, and the Axumite courtyard drains from your eyelids like watercolor, replaced by the hush of a moonlit Kyoto garden in the first year of Kannin. You stand beside a lacquered bridge, arcing over still water so clear that every maple leaf floating on its surface looks double. One flame red on the water, another burning bright in the sky, Crickets trill, soft as silk being folded, and the sweetgrass scent of autumn mingles with pine smoke wafting from hidden braziers. Somewhere beyond a screen of bamboo, a flute releases a single high note that seems to hang in the night the way the crescent moon hangs above the eaves. A court attendant in layered robes of russet, amber and cream greets you with a low bow. Each sleeve is an embroidered gradient from chrysanthemum yellow to persimmon orange. Even the hems whisper through fallen leaves like distant rain. You follow her along a stepping stone path, lit by stone lanterns, their candles sheltered behind mica panels. The path leads to an open pavilion, perched beside a koi pond. There, nobles recline on silk-covered tatami, sleeves artfully arranged to display subtle colour combinations that could make a modern Pantone chart weep with envy. You settle onto a brocade cushion, cool beneath you, yet warmed in patches from lantern glow. A lacquer tray arrives as quiet as a falling petal. First, a clay bowl of chrysanthemum rice, pearlescent grains tinted pale gold from petals stirred in during the final steam. Steam rises, carrying the faint herbal bitterness of the flower, an aroma as delicate as parchment poetry. Did you know? Heian cooks sometimes floated fresh blossoms atop rice, not just for flavour, but as an edible calendar, signalling that the brief chrysanthemum season had reached its luminous peak, a ritualized reminder that time, like petals, drifts away unnoticed unless tasted. Beside the rice sits a twig-thin skewer of salted river fish, ayu, grilled until the skin puckers into tiny silver scales of crispness. You lift it gingerly, inhale a puff of cedar smoke, and bite. Salty crackle, sweet flesh, a whisper of the stream it left behind. A small dish of pickled plum glows garnet in the lantern light. One nibble sends a bright, sour zing across your tongue that chases the fish like quicksilver, sharpening senses without jarring the calm. Courtiers murmur waka poems, in voices lower than the pond's ripple. One compares the moonlight to a stolen glance between lovers behind inked screens. Another counters with a verse likening fallen leaves to defeated samurai banners, dry humour at 12 syllables a line. You smile, maybe louder than etiquette allows, but the breeze carries the sound away into the pines. A servant kneels and pours amazake, sweet, low-alcohol rice sake, into a porcelain cup so thin the pale drink seems to hover without walls. Vapours carry hints of malt and fermented plum, like faint echoes of distant bakeries and orchards mingling. You sip. Warmth pools behind sternum, soothing yet feather-light compared to the honey wine heft of Axum. As you set the cup down, a reflection of the moon quivers in the sake's surface, then smooths like a pond returning to stillness. Next arrives a lacquered bowl of clear broth. Thin rounds of yuzu float like miniature moons, their citrus perfume lifting the savoury depth of kelp and bonito. Hidden beneath the surface, cubes of silken tofu drift lazily, each one a soft island that melts the moment chopsticks guide it to your tongue. Broth warmth seeps outward, coaxing shoulders even lower, breaths even slower. A hush passes through the pavilion as an attendant slides open a shoji screen. Beyond, the moon has climbed higher, perfectly framed between two cedar trunks. Everyone inhales softly, as though collective breathing might fog the glass of night, and time feels thin enough to crease. You remember Egypt's ice cones, and Persia's saffron milk, Babylon's sesame spirals, and Gupta mango curry, each moment a bead on the necklace of your evening. Now the moon is the pendant, cool and radiant, illuminating every taste. The feast continues at a whispering pace. A tiny dish of vinegared lotus root slices arrives, their cross-sections revealing snowy wheels that crunch with pickled brightness, wiping the palate clean like soft wind over dewy grass. Then chestnut ohagi, sticky rice dumplings rolled in sweetened chestnut paste, earthy and mellow, giving gentle closure to the savoury run. You bite, chestnut fibres dissolve into velvety sweetness that settles over tongue like a thick quilt. Courtiers begin composing impromptu verses about what they have just eaten. A lady in 12 layers speaks of rice petals as soft lanterns for the mouth. A young official describes the pickled plum as lightning in a silk bag, earning muted laughter. You swirl the last of your amazake, deciding words can wait. Silence speaks volumes when flavoured correctly. Lanterns sway, projecting shifting lattices on the wooden floorboards. Somewhere a deer steps on fallen leaves outside the garden wall. The crackle merges with distant bamboo fountain clacks, rhythm steady enough to lull the soul. The flute returns, slower this time, each note releasing like breath in cold air. Final tray appears, almost floating, a slice of persimmon glazed with sake and dusted with ground toasted sesame. The fruit is firm yet yielding, sweet, bordering on floral. As teeth meet flesh, juice runs honey-slow along tongue, pulling every previous flavor into gentle orbit, uniting rivers, flowers, and moonlight in one last sigh. You lean back, silk cushions sighing beneath. The moon's reflection pools in the pond, broken only by a koi's lazy ripple. The nobles fall silent, heads bowed toward that shimmering coin of light, sipping what remains of their cups. Even the crickets dim their chorus as though nature itself listens for the scratch of ink on rice paper. Your eyelids lower half-mast, the warmth of sweet sake cocooning limbs, chrysanthemum fragrance lingering at the edge of exhale. Somewhere in the haze, Egypt's harpists, Babylon's astrologers, Persian gardeners, Greek philosophers, Han scholars, Gupta poets, Maya priests, and Aksumite harpists all find seats around the same endless table. Every flavor, a note in an ever slower symphony designed for one purpose, to let you drift. A pale cloud drifts across the moon, veiling it just enough to dim the pavilion. Shadows thicken. The lacquerware gleams, then fades. You curl fingers against the cushion's brocade, feeling its threads like tiny roads guiding you toward dreams. The cloud clears. Moonlight returns softer, filtered, perfect for sleepwalking hearts. Breathe in chrysanthemum, breathe out cedar smoke. Breathe in sweet sake warmth, breathe out maple leaf hush. The garden swivels gently, like a painted fan closing, until only darkness and distant flute remain. Midnight slips its silken toga over Rome, and you glide through the torch-lit colonnade of a senator's townhouse that smells of pine-pitch torches and roasted pepper. Marble floors shimmer like moon-frosted water, each step echoing under barrel vaults painted with dolphins leaping through vermilion waves. A slave waves a peacock feather fan, more for show than breeze. You dodge the plume, then sidestep an honest-to-Jupiter panther on a gold leash, apparently the hostess's latest conversation piece. The big cat yawns, revealing teeth like polished ivory combs, and you hurriedly promise yourself to stay on the right side of the appetizer tray. In the atrium, a sunken marble pool doubles as a chilled wine cellar. Amphorae of Falernian nestle in crushed snow hauled earlier from Apennine ice pits. Did you know? Roman snowmen routinely packed summer ice into straw-lined caves, so emperors could sip frosty drinks while everyone else melted at the circus. Tonight, the effort pays off as servants ladle pale wine into glass cups, so thin they ring like bells when you tap them together. A whiff. Sweet raisins, grassy olive groves, and a shy hint of smoke from the pine resin seal. One swallow sends a cool shiver racing from gums to heels, sluicing away any leftover Berber heat or chrysanthemum tang still lurking on your palate. Past mosaicked floors depicting athletes wrestling eels, the triclinium yawns open, all couches, cushions, and candle-stuck candelabra shaped like coiling serpents. You recline left elbow down, toga artfully draped, because Romans believe slouching equals social grace. A platter of oysters on crushed snow hits the table, shells winking mother of pearl. You lift one, tip its briny heart across tongue, ocean lightning, followed by a lingering mineral lull. Nearby, a poet claims he can taste the tides of Brittany. Another swears Campanian salt is gentler. Historians still argue whether Julius Caesar truly funded an imperial oyster express to keep Gaul's finest alive all the way to Rome, a lawyer mutters, spearing two for evidence. Debate ensues. Oysters disappear. A silver dish of dormice rolls in, tiny, herb-stuffed, honey-glazed, reclining on poppy seed beds. You pop one whole. The skin crackles, releasing rosemary steam, while interior meat melts delicate as cotton candy stew. If that mental collision confuses you, blame Roman chefs, who treat sweet and savory like twins sharing a tunic. Next, a footman drizzles garum, fermented fish sauce so umami-dense it could probably sharpen bronze, into a shallow bowl of boiled artichoke hearts. You dip, taste, and feel every previous meal wiggle in memory, as if garum's salt-laden punch just dialed their flavors back to consciousness. Music starts. A double flute weaving quicksilver trills around a lute's slow, honeyed strum. Rhythm nudges conversation into livelier currents. A matron boasts her pet flamingo dances the tarantella. Somewhere behind a silk curtain you hear splashy wing beats and accept the claim at face value. Plates change again. Flamingo tongues in spicy date sauce, stolen from Carthaginian traders, along with peacock's crests cooked down to a silky broth. Luxury chasing itself in circles. You sample a spoonful, surprisingly subtle, like chicken soup dressed for Saturnalia. Every so often the panther pads pass, chaperoned by a bored eunuch. Rich laughter follows the beast, feeding ego and appetite alike. You realise this midnight revel is less a meal, more a glittering resume display. Whoever digests the most exotic ingredient wins tomorrow's gossip column. Luckily, you're a time traveller, already stamped by saffron ice, maple leaf hush, and cacao-rubbed turkey. You nibble another oyster, this one splashed with pomegranate reduction, and contemplate how tastes evolve yet stubbornly cling to salt, sweet, fat, crunch, just arranged in new dialects. Dessert arrives on a revolving marble platter carved with herons. Fried honey fritters called globuli. They're ricotta dough spheres drenched in honey, dusted with cracked pepper. One bite and you're chewing a warm cloud, spiked with gentle hint. Pepper playing the part modern chefs give to chili or sea salt. Beside it, candied rose petals sparkle like crystalline confetti, fragile enough to fall apart on breath alone. You let one dissolve on tongue, perfume blooming into floral sugar ribbons that float up the nose like spring gossip. A scribe reads aloud a newly minted satire, skewering senators who order panther print cushions while Rome's aqueducts crumble. Everyone laughs too loud, proving satire's bullseye. The hostess waves away potential awkwardness by summoning the bath slaves. Murmuring, you're escorted to an adjoining caldarium where marble tubs brimming with warm, violet-tinged water steam in torchlight. Petals and drops of rose oil surf lazy eddies. You slip in. Heat swaddles muscles, while a slave pours more Falernian. Stone ceilings magnify each drip into cathedral echoes. Even the panther's distant rumble becomes a lullaby bassline. Steam blurs mosaics until Poseidon's horses morph into abstract swirls. You float, sipping cool wine in hot water, the sensory push-pull, lulling mind toward that fuzzy border Egypt's harpists and Kyoto's crickets already scouted. A perfumer passes, sprinkling saffron-infused snow crushed to powder, a golden hush that melts on shoulders, combining Persia's gardens and Han Palace dawn in fragrant reunion. Someone brings a final dish. Shaved ice flavoured with mulled grape must and fig syrup. It's Rome's chilled nightcap, bridging phosphorescent oysters and the moon's reflection trembling atop your bathwater. You spoon a mouthful, sweet, earthy, cold, and feel the journey rounding its last curve. Nile honey, Babylonian sesame, Persian saffron, Greek resin, Han jasmine, Gupta mango, Maya cacao, Axum honey wine, Heian chrysanthemum, now Roman garum and peppered honey. After flavours stack like marble courses in a triumphal arch, each supporting the next. All crowned by the starry ceiling, you glimpse through the bathhouse oculus. Steam fades to mist. Music drifts softer. Conversation lapses to pillow talk tones. You let fingers dangle, tracing lazy circles, eyes half shut. Garum tang lingers, but peppered honey coats it in velvet. The panther yawns, curls on a heated tile, and everyone agrees bedtime has conquered banquet. The torches gutter lower, and a hush tumbles through marble halls the way night fog slips along the Tiber. You ease from the bath, wrapped in linen softer than fresh injera, and step onto mosaic flooring warmed by hidden braziers. With each slow breath, steam lifts from your skin, carrying hints of pepper, rose, and cedar up toward the dark, coffered ceiling, scents rising like lanterns into stillness. Exhale gently, feel shoulders unhook, muscles unspool. Imagine every flavour you've tasted tonight: oyster brine, sweet persimmon, saffron milk, floating like tiny paper boats on a wide, calm river. One by one, they drift beyond view, until only the river's quiet shimmer remains. The marble beneath your feet cools, encouraging toes to rest, ankle by ankle, knee by knee, until legs sink into cushions as softly as dusk draws down a canopy of stars. Somewhere, a distant water organ sighs its last note, leaving the air thick with comfortable silence. You picture the pet panther folding into a circle, tail draped over nose, breathing deep, slow, steady, an effortless rhythm you can borrow. Inhale through the nose, counting 4 heartbeats. Pause. Exhale longer, letting day's final tension trickle away like warm honey. The marble oculus overhead frames a slice of sky, ink dark and sprinkled with faint constellations that once guided Egyptian barges and Polynesian outriggers alike. Let those pinpoints glow softer, dimmer, until they resemble grains of powdered sugar scattered over sleepy figs. Your eyelids follow suit, lowering like silk screens, breath shallows evenly spaced. Thoughts thin into gauzy ribbons, then coil into quiet spirals. No need to chase them, let them fall. You've dined with pharaohs and philosophers, poets and priests, panthers and peacocks. Their voices fade to a shared whisper of rest. And so you do, allowing the dark to fold around you like